Welcome to this episode, this webinar of the Black Sail Capital podcast by the Wave and Black Sail Capital webinar. We're so excited to have our good friend, our pal, experienced investor Frank TASHIMA on with us today. We're so excited to do these episodes because we get to jump on with like-minded individuals, our friends in the real estate space and the entrepreneur world, to learn from them and see what they're up to and be able to just piggyback on their experiences and be able to learn from them and use them in our own lives and all grow up together. But before we go ahead and start drilling Frank with some questions, let me just give a quick little bio about Frank. Frank TASHIMA is a real estate investor and capital raising expert dedicated to helping Hawaiian investors build a wealth through passive multifamily investments. As the co-founder and chief investment officer of Diversified Equity Partners, Frank specializes in vetting top-tier operators, analyzing risk-adjusted deals, and securing high-quality investment opportunities in the Midwest and Sun Belt regions. With a background in heavy equipment operations, Frank transitioned into real estate after recognizing the limitations of single-family investing. Since then, he has raised capital for large multifamily projects. We're going to touch on one of those projects today and talk about one of those today. A born and raised Maui local, Frank understands the challenges of real estate investing in the islands and helps landlords transition from active property management to truly passive income. His mission is to educate and empower investors so they can generate long-term wealth without a headache of being a landlord. So yes, we got Frank TASHIMA, our good friend, on with us today. Frank, how are you today, man?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of share what I've got going on and my story. And yeah, man, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you carving out the time for us today so we
Can
can,
I just
learn
give
from you.
a sound horn? Pew, 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 pew. Because Jackson, that was an amazing intro.
Yeah, that was
Right, dude,
Jackson.
I'm stoked to have
Hey,
you.
hey, I can read. So that's what's up. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's all because Frank's such a stud. Frank really has done such an amazing job in his real estate career. I know it hasn't necessarily been a super long career, but he's
hmm
made like
It's just the start.
quite a bit of impact. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. And what you just touched on is only a mere glimmer of Frank in his beautiful essence. Like that impressive background you just gave us is just a fraction of who Frank is. So we're excited to learn from him.
Definitely. Frank, anything
One
before
one
we
thing
sorry, go
oh
ahead.
go I keep doing that to you today, Jackson. It's a
You're good.
common
You're
theme
good.
today. No, you go, Jackson. You've let me go plenty of times. It's your turn to go first.
Frank, anything you want to like wrap into your bio? Anything any you want anybody else to like know about you before we like really start asking you some questions?
No, I think that was good. That was a
Okay.
good overview. Yeah,
Okay.
Nailed it. Nailed it, Jackson. Good
yeah.
form. But I like to kind of start in the beginning, like just to give us a little glimmer of what makes Frank uniquely Frank. Can you take us back to the beginning? What was life like for you growing up in Maui?
Um, Life was interesting. So I didn't really come from much, to be honest. God bless my parents. They did an amazing job raising us. But to keep it close to the theme of today's podcast and all, I wasn't really exposed to much growing up as far as like entrepreneurial, real estate, and all of that. So I literally had a ceiling over my head. Like I knew what I could achieve because I looked around me and I kind of capped myself and I really didn't kind of break that ceiling until I would say maybe 6 or 7 years after graduating high school. So um I graduated high school. I didn't really have any kind of path to go off of. So didn't really do the college route, went into being a laborer for a small excavation company. My wife's father owns a small company, so did that, and that's where I kind of saw my future. And that's kind of how life was. Like if you didn't really have some big business aspirations, then you're kind of put into the construction route. And that's where a lot of local guys go if, if they don't really have anything paved in the future, they go the construction route, which is fine and all. A lot of money to be made, but yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we want to unpack more, but
For sure. There's a lot to unpack there. I didn't even know that you worked for your I hadn't I knew you did because I remember listening to it with you and Jackson the first time, but thank you for
mhm,
rejogging my memory. Did
yeah,
you is would you say that your father-in-law kind
yeah.
of gave you your first glimmer into what entrepreneurship is and owning a business?
It's interesting you say that because yes, he did. He did. He showed me that, there are people who take businesses and build their own business. And I forgot to touch on, I was an entrepreneur in high school, but I didn't even know what the hell the word was. So I used to sell spam musubis in high school, and that's how I would pay for my fishing gear. But I didn't really scale it. So I kind of like, once I got enough money to pay for all my gear, then that was pretty much it. So that was my peak into entrepreneurial.
It served its purpose.
Yeah, yeah,
And if you needed to do it again, you could do it again.
yeah, definitely. And I would sell it probably double the price now, but but
Yeah.
yeah, that was my, I guess, break into entrepreneur, but that like quickly died. And then it kind of revived after seeing my father-in-law's business and seeing how one individual can actually like build something for himself instead of building something else. But again, I didn't really think of it as a business aspect until I would say maybe 3 years after that. And that was me moving up to Dallas.
What made you
Yeah.
move to Dallas?
So
What
my
triggered
wife,
that?
she graduated from New Mexico State with a biology degree, but she wanted to be a chiropractor. So she graduated, moved home in 2018, kind of tried to find her way, and then she got into chiropractic school, and it was up in Dallas. And she told me, "Hey, let's move to Dallas." And I'm like, "I'm ready to go into Goodfellow. I'm studying to be a fireman. I have all these options. I just bought a brand new truck." And she told me, "Let's go to Dallas." And I was like, "Well, hell, I've always wanted to go up to the move and live up in the States." So I cold turkey ditched everything and we started, moving up to Dallas slowly. So that was, yeah, that was a cool transition, especially like only being up in the States or away from Hawaii for 2 weeks max. That was the longest I've ever been away from the States. So to live up there for like 3.5 years was crazy to think about. But I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet it was a bit of a culture shock,
It
especially that
was.
like just Texas
Hey,
of all places.
I honestly thought moving up to Texas, I would see a bunch of cowboys, but Dallas is like more business friendly, so I didn't see any cowboys.
Probably get more cowboys in Kauai.
Yeah, yeah, probably. Or up country over here.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Um, is that where you got introduced to real estate?
Yes. Yep. So I took the skills that I learned from working with my father-in-law, and I worked for a bigger excavation company. They're one of the biggest in North Dallas. So worked for them. I ran the loader for a year. I kind of proved that I was a good employee, and I moved up to running the concrete batch plant. So we were paving everywhere that the metro was growing, north, south, east and west. And that was pretty eye-opening. And that's where I started to see like understand like growth of a market and like, hey, what happens, after we pave these roads? You have development come in and they start, building houses, introducing jobs. And I was like, I kind of want to learn all of this. And simultaneously, I was learning how to, my financial literacy muscle, learning about
Mm.
money and how it flows. And that look and seeing all the growth in DFW, I was like, there's got to be more than just working 65 hours a week. So I kind of started waking up early in the morning before my, starting work at 6:30. I would, read a bunch of books, learn from other people, listen to podcasts, and that's how real estate like just stumbled into my lap. It was like the number one wealth building tool, I would say. So that's how I got into real estate, kind of.
And that's
Yeah.
that's so powerful and relatable. I feel like there's so many of us that are like working another job, our parents have other responsibilities and trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out like how do I get out of this trap or this ceiling that you were talking about? And it's that grit, dude. Like you have that grit to wake up
Mm-hmm.
earlier, figure out a way to learn, like that resourcefulness to learn and get creative. Like, okay, well, maybe I could find this in a book or like YouTube University. Like it's gotta, there's so
Yeah.
many resources out there, but you took a chance on yourself and started doing it and like you've come so far. I rely on you. Like I come to you as a resource, as a tool to
Mm-hmm.
learn from, as an expert. I super lean on you. So
Yeah.
man, that's inspiring. It makes me want to wake up at like 3 a.m. tomorrow and just get after it, dog. Like, come on. But speaking
Nice.
of resourcefulness, I feel like Hawaii and Maui especially has a strong sense of community and
Mm-hmm.
resourcefulness. Like for example, you started like you sold Misubi at a young
Yeah.
age. How
Yeah.
has that influenced the way you build relationships and do business?
That's a good question. So how I build relationships. So I honestly learned this how to build relationships here in Hawaii versus up in the States when I moved back home. It's very different. I don't know if me and Jackson have talked about it, but to build relationships here in Hawaii is very different than up in the States, I would say, in my honest experience. People home here, they like to be face to face. I have a lot of in-person meetings with people here in Hawaii versus, people up in the States. Obviously, I gotta do virtual, but people over here don't want to do the virtual. They want to do the in-person. They want to know who you are, who's your family, do we have a connection somewhere? And that's how I build relationships here. I want to say that there's a lot of people that take advantage of people here in Hawaii. And because of that, building the face-to-face relationship, um having the in-person conversations, knowing who is your family, are we connected somehow, or how are you helping the community? I want to get connected with you versus like not really having that connection. So I would say
Yeah.
that's how you build relationships here in Hawaii. And I even
It's like
talked to
showing it,
yes, and
not
I
just
even talked
saying
to
it, showing.
yes, and I've also talked to someone else who also noticed that. So that's how I've kind of gotten out here, moving back home. Yeah.
Well, I think you can even take that with you to mainland because you probably are a
Mm-hmm.
breath of fresh air and like really bring a presence and a trusting. Like you don't necessarily like there is a sales aspect into most businesses, and so
Yeah.
you aren't maybe bringing that desperate energy or bringing that like I just want to empower you and learn about your goals and make sure
Yeah.
that this what I'm doing empowers your goals. If not, maybe I can help connect you to someone or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
like maybe in mainland it's that less inauthentic or there's a distrust or just more of a desperate energy to the sale or
Mm-hmm.
outcome. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
bet
I
it
agree with
helps you
that.
a lot. And I bet you stand out to a lot of people in mainland in your relationships. At least you
Mm-hmm.
do to me. So
Well, I mean, I stand out because I remember when I was living up there, so I call everyone auntie, uncle. I don't even care if I know you. And people would trip out at that. Like, what the heck, dude? That's super weird. And some people liked it. They're like, oh man, I wish I could adopt that into my life. But yeah.
Dude, the South has way, way more eccentric terminology, like Paul Paul. Yeah, Gam Gam, like I to learn all of Strat's ancestors' names and like their nicknames was I needed an org chart. I needed like a whole whimsical Canva breakdown. I was like, okay, which one's Gam Gam? Which one's Kraut? Which one's Paw Paw? Like, okay, Tutu, like Uncle, Auntie, got it, nailed it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that web goes deep. Pawpaw, grandpa, and then granddad. But then also some of the males just want to be pawpaw or
Mm.
granddad, and you just call them pawpaw last name, pawpaw last name, pawpaw last name.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then it's different if it's formal. Then it's like Mr. and Mrs.
Oh
But God
yeah,
forbid you do the wrong type of miss or wrong last name. Then
yeah.
you got to
But
learn like what their
sir
nice
and ma'am,
FUs are. Yeah. It's
sir
a
and
different
ma'am,
type of
and then
English. Different
it is.
English.
And then whenever you say ma'am to an older lady, or let's say a middle-aged lady, and you don't know them, and they're not from there, they definitely don't like it.
So
Mm.
Frank, what we're trying to say is down south and
Auntie uncle
mainland.
is,
Yes, they'll understand it.
yeah. Auntie uncle is Noko'oi, I would say. And I hope that goes worldwide.
That's awesome. Well, I feel like island living comes with unique obstacles, but also blessings, such as like the
Mm-hmm.
blessings being such a unity and community and wanting to empower each other's businesses, even if they're really
Mm-hmm.
unique, like Misubi.
Yeah.
But then there are some challenges, especially in real estate. What maybe lessons or takeaways from going up on Maui have helped you navigate learning about investing or financial literacy?
I think what's not taught has opened my eyes, right? There wasn't a lot of talk about, investing. I honestly didn't even know the word before I moved up to Dallas, to be honest. It's not in the vocabulary. And
Wow.
just just knowing all of that and then taking being taken out of my comfort zone and moving up to Dallas, everything started bubbling up to the surface like, oh, we don't talk about that, or why don't we talk about that, or why doesn't everyone talk about this? So that's what's kind of shaped in knowing that is what shaped me to kind of motivate myself. And I told myself I eventually was planning to move back home. Honestly, we're supposed to still be living up in Dallas, but I told myself I was gonna move home a different person and people wouldn't even know who I was really. And it's funny that it literally I don't hang out with a lot of people that I used to hang out with before. And it's because I'm a different person. Like me and Jackson hang out more than I hang out with my other buddies. And it's because we have different goals. I'm in a different, phase of my life where people wouldn't be able to relate to me. So I think being exposed to what Maui wasn't teaching, and then, learning that it wasn't getting taught has kind of shaped to how I invest now and kind of built the passion for why I want to share, about what I do. And, even if people don't invest with me, it's not about that. It's honestly about, starting conversations and getting people's gears turning and thinking of it because it may change in the next 10, 15 years. And now they're teaching their kids all because we had a coffee meeting, at Starbucks and I told them, hey, I think you should read this. So I think
Yeah.
that's what most of it is about.
Yeah, you have a mission to serve and your mission
Mm-hmm.
transcends self. So I think
Yeah.
that's why your passion is very fully embodied and felt. And I think that's something that we all love about you and feel from
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's really powerful. And when we were on Maui, I definitely feel like there's more of an entrepreneurial group that want to teach the youth to break the bounds and critically think like you're talking about and create
Mm-hmm.
sovereignty for themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel that's true, but I feel like it's more and more people are becoming aware of it. So your impact is clearly making waves, my friend.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, but many people in Hawaii feel limited by the local market. What made you look beyond the islands for investment opportunities, especially after you learned what investment meant?
I I can't I can't seem to think how you can overpay for something and just like bet on appreciation. That's what Hawaii's market is, unless you're taking a lot of risk. And for me, I'm trying to look for asymmetrical returns to where the lowest amount of risk for the highest amount of returns. And that's where I saw, being up in the States, it made more sense. Not saying that I'll never come to Hawaii. Hawaii's in a part of the market where there's a bubble that's gonna be it's gonna pop in Hawaii, and I don't know when. So if I can strategically position myself to where I cut my teeth, raising money, operating deals, what have you, and then once that market pops, opportunities come up, then I can bring back all the focus to Hawaii and start, circulating the equity in Hawaii instead of, up in the States. So I don't think there's groups here, they're developing housing, they're developing shopping malls, they're doing all of that. I think for me right now, if I can take that baton, whatever they're doing in the future, and right now stay busy and learn how the markets are, how the market shifts, where equity flows, then I can come in, take that baton and kind of help, finish, because I'm only 28 years old. I have a long runway, and that's where I think I can be dangerous. Not dangerous like,
In a good
monopolize
way.
everything,
No, I
but
get
just yeah.
monstrous, dude. I heard it. I
Yeah.
felt it. Are
Impactful.
you kidding?
Yeah.
Impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scrappy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. No,
Well,
it really is so.
empowering your home
Mm-hmm.
in a really authentic and full way. So sorry, but
Well,
Jackson, again, this is
well,
second or
you
third
guys
time
lived
I
on
cut you
Maui.
off.
You guys lived on Maui. You guys know how much land there is. So there's potential. I mean, it's, I know a lot of locals don't want to build, but you have to build. Population keeps growing. If you don't build more supply, things get more expensive. So that's what I kind of see in the future,
Can I
20, 30 years.
can I tap
Sounds
in on
like you
that?
have some of the bubble. It sounds like you know your bubbles, you're about to pop it, the bubble you were talking about.
Go ahead, Strat.
Yeah, I mean, a bit, but I don't know. I don't want to sound like a dumb, but as like not natives of the land, we also people that are coming in and just like love Hawaii. We want to make sure that we come in like we're being stewards for the land and we're being
Mhm.
respectful and appreciate it. And yeah, we just like what would you say to people like us? Like we want to make sure that we just come in and respect it and not build where stuff doesn't need to be built, but then,
Mhm.
like making sure Hawaiian land stay in Hawaiian hands, basically.
I know there's like an affordable aspect to it, like because everything is so expensive, and that's the hard part about it, right? You want to be able to address all affordable housing aspects, whether it's, 120% AMI, 100% AMI, all of that, because there's different tiers to where you serve the affordability aspect. I was just talking to one of the biggest GCs in Hawaii yesterday. She's business development, but she was saying that affordability is definitely difficult because your project will serve a certain tier in that affordability aspect. So who are you really, trying to serve? And I would say, I don't know. There's so many ways that you guys can help or whatnot. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that answered your question
I guess
a bit.
that maybe a
There's
follow-up question kind of come in the backside of it. Is there any type of investment that you think people should stay away from when it comes to the Hawaiian Islands? Kind of putting you on the spot, dude. This wasn't in the
No,
agenda.
no,
This
you're
is
good.
totally
You're good.
I'm also like no pressure too. We're like
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think there's any investment. In my opinion, I would say luxury investments, luxury development. Like honestly, do we really need luxury development? Because then what that's doing is that's supplying housing for people who don't live here. Most of the majority of locals that live here, they can't afford luxury development. So why not put that, development dollars into, affordable housing, or at least market rate housing? So what's kind of twisted in Hawaii is if you do a luxury development, a certain percentage of that has to be affordable housing. And that's like, I think maybe 10% of the total unit count. So if you have 1,000 units, only 100 units is for affordable and the rest is luxury. So that's one of the big problems. And it's funny
I didn't
how,
even know you can make some like that.
yeah,
Like I didn't even know you can do that.
yeah. So that's the twisted part. And it's funny how um a lot of these luxury developments are like popping up left and right. So
Makes sense. Thank you for your
yeah,
input on that. We know we kind of put
yeah.
you on the spot there, no, but thank you for answering that.
No
Dude,
worries.
you guys have you've chosen multifamily as that asset class that you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at. Real quick, why? Why have you chose multifamily as that asset class? And then kind of the follow-up question on that, what are some of the biggest myths that come with passive investing in multifamily and passive investing altogether?
I'll be honest, why I even looked at multifamily was because it was big and sexy. It was bigger than single family, and I wanted to go big out of the gate. I didn't think that I had to cut my teeth going small, which is what a lot of people think they have to do. Like, oh, I have to build up 10 units and then I can buy multifamily. Like I decided why not just go big out of the gate. But after I started learning about that asset class, it just makes more sense. There's so much income to where you can bring on professional management and even, bring that in-house, but there's lower risk of, vacancies, right? When you have one unit, that person moves out, you're vacant, like 100%. One person moves out of a multifamily, that's super low vacancy. So there's still income coming in. And I would say the big the other big reason was the bigger pie. I
Mm.
wanted to raise money from family and friends to give them the opportunity to invest in real estate. And going multifamily was big enough to bring on those people. You can't really syndicate a single family house. It's way too small. So those are kind of the reasons why I chose multifamily.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, dude. Just the security there in multifamily
Yeah.
is so much more attainable and like
Mm-hmm.
than it is in the single family realm for
Yeah.
sure. What are some of the biggest myths you think people have about passive investing in real estate?
What are some myths? That it's fake, that it's a scam. I think especially when you go into something big, it does feel more like a scam rather than just like private money lending on a single family flip. I feel like it's more tangible. But a lot of people don't understand that 401k is passively investing, and that's even way scarier because you have less control over all of that. So
So
and it's going,
there's one of those myths you kind of just said one right there that it's more risky than your 401k when at the end of the day it's not.
yeah, yeah. Um, what I would say another myth would be people, I guess people think that they have to make a lot of money in order to passively invest. And sometimes that is the case, to be honest. We all know that, there's certain regulations when we raise money, but in some deals, they have that opportunity, to invest in those kind of deals. It doesn't really matter the income. So I would say those are the biggest myths. Um, when people think about like passively investing, but just know that everyone does it. That's how, buildings are built. That's how our shopping centers are built, is all these investors are passively investing, whether it's institutional or retail.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
work with a lot of these high money investors. to place their money. Yeah. How do
Mhm.
you go about vetting the operators before you place those investors' money?
This is my favorite part. So my first level of like screening the operator is definitely track record. We want to see at least 5 full cycle deals. And what that shows us is they've acquired the property, they've executed the business plan, and they also sold. And when they sell, then we can actually look at, their average IRR in those deals, like how did it perform? And then we go to the team's like profession, like are they vertically integrated? Do they have property management in-house, construction management in-house? And what that shows us is they have more control over the deal and what happens. When you give that out to third party, you lose control. When you give out construction management, you lose control. You lose control of the renovation. So we like to see all of that in-house. Um, and then honestly, it comes down to synergy with the group. Like I know how that might sound weird, but that was the cusp of us investing in our second deal last year.
That
It was
doesn't sound weird to the
because
Black Silk squad. I'll tell you that
oh
much.
yeah,
We very much aligned there with you for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Go
yeah.
on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. So that's kind of what got us over the fence, even though the deal was such a good deal, and I know we'll get into it later. It was because the team, we resonated with the team. They were organized. We just had good conversations. You have like a good conversation with a group and you kind of fired up. Like that's how it was off the first call. So that's what it is. It's the track record. How does the group look like? And then you know, if we even like resonate with the group and what they're trying to do. So those are like the high level things that is like that puts these operators in buckets for us. And that's just at their track record, and overview of the company. That's not even the deal aspect.
Dude, that's so good. That's
Yeah.
so good. I mean, it's so valuable to like make sure to hit those points before
Hmm.
jumping into a deal with them. One thing that
Yeah.
stands out to me there too is five. You want an operator that has 5 deals,
Yeah.
that just vets
I
out
have a
experience for sure.
question there.
Hmm.
Before you guys had built your portfolio, did you guys have that same vetting criteria? If so, did you guys ever get kickback from people being like, "Well, you guys what's your portfolio? Like, you're asking me to show you have 5 exited deals, but what have you done?"
Yeah.
Like, how did
That's a
you
great question.
just starting out, how did you leverage your credibility to get these just high level team members and collaborators and
Yeah.
magnetize them?
So the reason why we built such a robust and strict criteria is because of the one of the deals we did last year. We were honestly super excited about it, and we didn't really have a vetting criteria, if I'm being completely honest. It was like we saw a deal, we saw that the team had some experience, and we hopped in. And honestly, that's been a deal that's kind of not our greatest, but you live and you learn kind of. But the deal is still good. Like they haven't been foreclosed on, which is horrible. But we're optimistic in the beginning. So after experiencing that, I was like, going to I'm not gonna just like willy-nilly invest our investors' hard-earned money. So that's how I slowly built out that screening criteria.
So thank you, dude. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nico, did you have any
Well,
follow-up on
I'm
that?
inspired. Yep, Black Seal, we need to create ours. This is a safe space. We have not created that criteria yet as a team. We go off vibes and the alignment, like your third point that you talked about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have an action item. That's my follow-up.
Thank you for calling
Nice.
back that third point, though. Actually, I was at coffee with Frank. Was that yesterday, Frank? 2 days ago? And
Yeah. 2 days ago.
2 days ago,
Yeah.
I had to jump on a phone call, and Frank had to jump on a phone call. So I walked this way, jumped on my phone call. Frank stayed at the table and was on his. My phone call ended sooner, so I came back to the table and caught the tail end of Frank's conversation with one of these high-level operators. And it was I wasn't really listening because I was still working, doing my own thing. But at one point, Frank said, "You know what, man? I just don't think this aligns for us. I just don't think that this is really like this really aligns with us and our team and what we're looking for." And you could tell that the energy was still very high. Like you could tell the guy on the other end of the phone was like, yeah, man, I don't think it works. And then they shared referrals and then they ended the call. But I don't know. I wanted to share that experience. It's a very real thing that Frank does. And it's definitely showed on the other side with these assets that we'll get into.
And it's
So.
totally fine. Like some operators, we get on the call and they're like, I think your criteria doesn't really fit us. Because of, we haven't gone full cycle on 5 deals. I'm like, I don't think this is a waste of time, to be honest. Like it's not like you're gonna stay at 3 full cycle deals. You're probably gonna exit in the next 2. I think we should still have a conversation and talk about and keep the conversation going, and talk about how those deals perform. And then once you hit that 5, then we may be able to look at some of your opportunities.
See, and
So,
there's how
yeah.
you build the relationship too. Just
Yeah.
that sense of
Well, we can bring that.
collaboration.
Here's the value we
boom,
bring. You
real
bring,
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just your authenticity. I just felt warm and fuzzy. I was like, yeah. I felt like you're just
Yeah.
talking to me sincerely. I was like, okay, Frank.
Dude,
Okay,
he was.
we're almost
I
there.
was
We can almost do a deal with Frank. Black Sale.
Yeah, and
we know
I
we
told
know what we need to do.
and I told that to an operator this morning. I was on a call with him and he thought, it's kind of a waste of a time. I told him, no, it's not. I don't think so. So
Dude, if I can interject, like one of my most favorite things about this real estate space that we're in is like it's so collaborative. Like I have hit up Frank more times than he has hit me up for just like questions. I'm like, hey bro, you're a little smarter than me on this topic. Like, can you help me out? And
yeah.
you've come in and shown up and shown out, and like, first off, grateful for that.
Mm,
So thank you.
yeah.
And just to like transition a little bit, I wanted to know if you had any like recent transaction that you have, or like do you have anything going on? Like where is it? How big is it? Like what's exciting about it? Stuff like that.
So our recent transaction was in Mount Airy, North Carolina, and that was one of the best deals I saw come across my desk last year at
Yeah.
the tail end. And my partner Willie was building that relationship with the operator for I think almost a year.
Shout out Willie.
And
He's on
yeah.
actually. Shout
Oh,
out
dude,
Willie.
Oh,
shout out
right on,
Willie.
Willie. So he was building that relationship and we had just came out of in March we had closed our first deal and I was on a spree of just finding deals and criteria was getting stricter and we weren't finding anything. I was turning down deals left and right and I kind of felt like the bad guy on the team. And I come to our meetings and I was like, oh, I looked at this deal, guys, and it's just not working. And then you kind of feel like oh crap, are we even gonna close on something and or find something? And we finally found this deal from this group. They started small and they started to scale kind of quickly. And this was like their entry into the bigger, the more bigger deals. So this one was 54 units and cool story behind it. It was a mom and pop owner. I think it was 1985 build, and the husband's health was going down, and the wife was doing the best she could. And I think it got kind of to the end, so she reached out to one of the main sponsors that we partnered with and told her like, hey, we're looking to sell. So they looked at the deal and guys, the rents on this was they're charging $589 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And in the market, that could go for 1,300.
Oh shit.
And it could go for 850, just doing absolutely nothing to it. So we could have just got in, raised rents to, without doing anything, and then sell the deal. And we probably would have walked out with a big bag, but we wanted to kind of squeeze some juice out of that lemon. So we decided to renovate all of the units, but only take it up to 1,100. The pro forma rents were 1,100, but we still had a $200 margin between the market rents. So that's kind of the value add we're gonna leave on the deal. And we've already proven that concept. So now it's just like, no, let's continue. So that was one of the best deals we've seen.
So with that, is there was there like a morality play? Like why didn't you bring up, you said it could go up to like 13, whatever. Was there a morality part on your end where you were like, you know what, let's only bring it up to like 11, or was it a money play to like get the rents up after you did all the renovations?
Um, what do you mean by morality?
So like in terms of like you've got renters in the apartments, they're renting for like 500-600 bucks, and you know that
Mm-hmm.
the market in that area can be up to upwards of 1,300 bucks, and
Mm-hmm.
you guys only bring your rents up to 1,100 bucks. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
was your play on that?
We just wanted to have that safeguard
Mm-hmm.
to show like how conservative our forward projections were.
Oh, nice.
That's
Okay.
how that was the thought process behind that. Like if we could aim for 1100, then
Mm-hmm.
that's already such a big margin. We can leave that for the next buyer to take on
Yeah.
that $200 gap.
Yeah. Leave a little
Yeah.
meat on the bone. I got
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So in terms of like whenever you're looking at your next asset and stuff, like what's your bread and butter? Are you looking for value add? Are you looking for turnkey? Or is
Hmm.
it something else?
So we're looking for value add and core plus deals. So we don't want to look at anything that's older than 1985.
Did you say core
And
plus?
yep. So that's like a core that's like a brand new deal, almost brand new deal with some value add.
Okay,
So I would
cool.
say like a core plus is like anywhere from like early 2000s to about like 2015, 2016. I would say. There's some value add
Yeah.
in that component with I guess raising rents.
So would
So
you classify that as like a B asset almost?
I would say like a A minus asset, to be honest.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny is we're in this market shift to where a lot of these operators didn't acquire these properties correctly. And also there's some tax incentives, I guess tax benefits, property tax benefits to where you can essentially wipe out property taxes with, if you structure it correctly. So that's why we've kind of floated into the core plus range. Just the kind of deals we're seeing, um, just really good opportunities.
Yeah, that's sick. I
Yeah.
have I might be a noob or sound like a novice over here, but I've never heard the core plus term before. So thanks for
Okay.
explaining that.
Yeah.
That's
And then
awesome.
a core deal is basically like something brand new.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, is there like a property or anything in like the most recent past that like you could go in and change something on that? Like how you exited, how you managed it, um,
I
uh,
would I would
etc.
say I wish we raised more for that last deal. I
Okay.
we only raised a small portion of it, but if we could have raised more, then we would have had, I guess, more GP ownership on it
Yeah.
because it was a super small deal. Like we purchased it for less than 4 million. So
Yeah.
like if we could have came in, with at least like $2 million of equity, then we would have had more GP ownership. So I guess that's the only thing I would change.
How would you project that? And or what is if it's just raising capital, how do you guys go about raising capital versus how you went about raising capital?
So how we went about it was we brought in our LPs into the entity that the GPs were raising with instead of creating our own entity and then putting all the LP money into there and then bringing it into the deal. What that does is that keeps our investors anonymous, but it also, I guess you're writing a bigger check and I guess more protection, but that's how we're going to be doing it moving forward. We'll raise money into something that's called a SPE and we'll come in and then we'll negotiate like co-GP terms if we can write a bigger check, then we'll command more of the GP share. Yeah.
Nice. And so yeah, man, I'm excited to finally get to say something. I don't want to interject, but from what I've
I think
heard
I
with
was
all these other
muted, man.
Hawaiians
My
with you,
bad.
it's all good. But these guys, they have a lot of love for you, which is awesome. Which I
Mhm.
know that if we were also on island, we had spent some time together, I think sure there's going to be an also level of respect there. But
Yeah.
they tell me how you're a master and an artist in the realm of networking with high level operators. And I kind of want to know what's Frank's secret sauce on that. How is that? How do you do so well with that?
Yo, we could sell that. What's Frank's secret sauce? I feel like we
Well,
can
it's kind of
we got
hard
something
because
going there.
Dude, the secret
Wait,
sauce to
yeah, it's already been
networking.
taken though.
wait, we have to kick everyone
Will
off
already
first
looked
and
into it.
Well, there's Frank's Red Hot sauce. There's buffalo sauce, and they do all kind of stuff. But it made me chuckle as I was like, man, what's Frank's secret networking
Wait, wait.
sauce? You know,
Uncle Frank's
Or
sauce.
yeah, that's good.
Uh-oh.
Uncle
I
Frank
was
sauce.
thinking Frank T's special sauce.
All right, there's everybody. There's a book going to be dropping in about 8 months. You're the first to know.
So you'll get the secret in there. Last page. No, give it to us right now. That we need to know what that sauce is.
I would say the sauce with networking with other operators. That's your question?
Yeah. Top tier, high
Top
level.
tier. I would say know your stuff. Know the jargon, know what you're talking about. When I first was talking with operators, I got introduced a good broker relationship that I have in Dallas. He introduced me to a top tier group. And the kind of group who doesn't have a website, they probably only have one page on that website, but they've done like couple billion in transactions. And I got on a call with them and he could stiff me out from the get-go. Like I wasn't gonna write a big check. So I was not really wasting his time, but there wasn't any, he knew he wasn't gonna continue the relationship. So I would say know your stuff. And definitely when you have a backing, as far as equity, you have a relationship where someone can really write big checks. It helps with the conversations with the operators. Um, but honestly, I found out that a lot of these operators are like super cool. They want to work with you. They know you're growing. As long as you communicate that, then they're understanding it. And some you'll come across where they're really not nice people to talk to, but majority of the time, all these operators, they want to build a relationship with capital relations, people who have access to capital, because that's one of the needs in the market right now. And that's why we kind of transitioned into just capital allocation, is because there's a need for it. There's so much equity that is stuck on the sidelines. So if they can build relationships with capital allocators like us, then it makes their job easier and they can go out and focus on finding the deals and operating the deals.
So
Nice.
can I interrupt you, Will, if you don't mind? Frank, whenever you say know your stuff, like what if it's a person that's like just getting into the real estate space, and
Mhm.
they're wanting to dive in like full force? What do you recommend, or do you have any advice there?
Know how to underwrite a deal. If you're gonna talk to these operators, they know how to they're wizards in their head. If you talk to the right operator who's done a lot of deals, um, they know how to like underwrite in their head. It's crazy. So knowing all of that, knowing the terms, reading books, I always recommend the definitive guide to, I think underwriting by Rob Beardsley. He wrote 2 books. I would read that. It talks about how to underwrite deals, but how to actually structure debt and equity in deals, and that's a big component.
Say the book one more
Because
time.
I think it's the
I got
definitive
it. I'm
guide
about to
to
drop it in the
underwriting.
link or in the
Yeah.
chat.
To it.
Thanks,
Beat me
Nico.
to it.
Those are one of the best books, and that's taught me a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Sorry, Will. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Just
it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, with the networking thing, can you kind of like share a story where your network kind of opened a door that would otherwise been closed?
Network open the door. Hmm.
Or one where you were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just got that connect. Like, I can't, like, to the point where you're like, they can sniff out when you were new, but what about when you were new and you landed like a whale and you were like, oh my gosh.
So when I first moved home, I realized what we talked about earlier, Nico, which is like face-to-face conversations, knowing people on Maui. If raising money I'll speak for Maui, there's a lot of people who are high net worth who are in the back. They're in the shadows. You don't even know they exist. So
Stealthy.
my thought was like, how do I get in there? So I started to network with, people, at least in my, I don't want to say stage in their career, same. And I started networking with, a good friend of mine, me and Jackson, and he started blurting out these names. And what I did was I took a notebook and I wrote down all of these names. That guy, writing him down. He's a big developer, write him down. He owns a brokerage, write his name down. And I went home and I Googled all these guys. If they had an Instagram, I would follow them on Instagram. And I found one of them on Instagram, and we didn't really, interact, but he started to interact with my posts. And I ask everyone out for coffee. Like I probably have at least 10 to 15 coffee meetings every month, and it's just meeting people, and then me and Jackson hanging out. But what is that? So I asked him like, hey, I'd love to learn about your journey, what you're focusing on now. Would love to meet up for coffee. And we met up for coffee, and this guy literally knows everyone in the background who's in the shadows. So I've been building the relationship with him, adding value, and he's been, someone that can open the door to, to big things here, in my career and here in Hawaii as well. So I'll say that's an experience. So network with everyone, buy them a coffee, pick their brain, or just ask about them.
Yeah, there's so much value in that because I mean, we're all humans. We
Yeah.
all put our shoes on the same way, and you never know who you're talking to.
Mhm.
They could be dirty or whatever. Just like actual like dirt on them, and then like you never knew that this was the guy to talk to. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So another question, just final question from me is, where's the best coffee in Maui? And then what's your go-to coffee?
I was about to say that's the
your
vertical business. That's the Frank special sauce or something. This
yeah.
Frank special coffee sauce. We're on to something.
Best coffee on Maui has got to be Maui Coffee Addict, to be honest. Espresso Mafia is good, but dang, that thing is harsh. Right, Jackson? Like that thing,
So
it
strong.
gets you wired,
It's
dude.
got some Colombian something in there, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It'll wire you. The Espresso Mafia for sure
Yeah.
will. No, I
Espresso
agree with
Mafia
you.
is,
Espresso Mafia.
yeah. Yeah. Espresso Mafia or Maui Coffee Addict is good, and it's like not
It's
it
not super
doesn't get you
strong.
wired,
Yeah,
dude.
it's
Not
really
crazy
good.
electric.
Yeah.
Won't be
Nice.
wired in your seat sweating.
Dude, it's crazy. I can't even like I don't know, take a mid-afternoon nap. I'm just like in my, trying to on my couch, just like wired, eyes wide open.
And I kind of want one. I want to try it one day.
We still need to reschedule your Maui trip, Will.
Yeah, well, that's coming. That's coming for sure.
Will would pop out of his shirt and just like break a soccer ball or something.
I'll
Just
just go
rip
running. I'm
open a
like,
soccer ball.
we're going to the top of Haleakala right
Yep,
now.
yep. From Kihei to Haleakala, I'm gonna run it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suddenly, ultra marathon now.
Awesome. We're kind of coming up to the top of the hour here. Will, did you have any more questions you wanted to ask?
No, I would say it was, either moving the part 5 here or even open it to the group.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely like that idea.
Yeah, we can be not selfish and open it up to the group. I feel like
Yeah, let's if they
usually
don't have any
selfish and ask
questions.
questions.
If they don't have any
Not-
questions, we have a few more for sure. But yeah, let's open up
Please
for
raise your
Q&A.
hand.
If anybody has questions for Frank, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll call on you or unmute your mic and just ask your question. No big deal.
Right, well, I'll go. How did you fall in love with underwriting? We have another person, Patrick, who also loves underwriting, has fallen in love with the process. But I feel like in general, it is a really can be scary, can be a scary role, can be scary to learn and approach. And like, what are some resources you leaned on outside that book? Like, did you go to YouTube's and learn underwriting? Or, like, did you go to a whiteboard and like physically do it, get with friends? Like, I know Strat relies on you as a resource there, but like, what are some things you did to fall in love with it?
I only took underwriting because I was a major introvert and it worked with my work schedule, to be honest. So I don't think there was any skills that I could transfer over from like multifamily that I could really implement in the beginning. So that's why I went the underwriting route. But man, I kind of fell in love with it because that's literally the meat and potatoes of anything in the financial world. Like I always like to tell everyone real estate is just the asset class. The financial world is what we're really in. We're allocating capital, we're managing this asset. If, multifamily is a business, it really is. You have asset management, you have the capital raising part, and then you have the financial modeling aspect to it. So I fell in love with it just because like I don't know, the numbers part. I'm not even like a numbers guy, but I just fell in love with um just seeing how the meat and potatoes of a deal, what it looks like
It's like
and
the
what,
heartbeat of it all.
yeah, and how it's been performing, and then what you can do to make it spit out returns that meets your criteria and your investors criteria, how to stress test the deal, if this happens in the future, what can it do to your, your returns. And then just honestly, recently I fell in love to actually like building models. So some of the resources I recommend is going on Udemy. And there's this guy, Justin Kivel. Oh man, he taught me how to do a lot and it's cheap. Like I think I spent $60 and I built my own model. And now it's like now I'm starting to build other models and I think it's something that it's a good hobby for me to do. And I also think it's important to learn as well. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
My mom was gonna hop on and but she's working right now and she wanted me to ask you this question. She said, I work at a storage unit and I manage the whole property and it's for sale.
Mhm.
How do you determine if you want to do that versus trying to get into the multifamily space or the hotel space like BSC is in?
So she works at a storage unit and it's for sale.
Yeah, it's for sale.
Dang. If she's already
Frank's
in
like,
it.
send it my way.
I know.
He'll build a template for it. He'll build a
I
model.
know. I,
I would
I don't know how to underwrite storage units or anything, but she wanted me to ask the question for you, so or for her. So yeah, that's the question she's got.
do you know how long she's been managing it?
Uh
Two
like 2 to 3
years.
years.
I would I would try to acquire it, or even like look into and ask them if they can, ask for their financials. And I would
Yeah.
try to do the deal herself. We know you guys know a lot of people. She can probably put her in touch with someone who can like kind of oversee and sign on the debt and all of that. But I would try
Yeah.
to pursue that. Ask them for
Oh,
the
dude, that's a good
financials.
idea. Maybe even I didn't even think about it, but ask her if the owner would do seller finance for her. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, man, I'll go over there. I'll go help Shelly out.
Yeah, dude.
She's only
I'll
down the
send Will
road.
over there. Will's down. Will and
Yeah,
Patrick are both down there. I'll send you guys
yeah.
go check them out.
Not to mention Marishal's in the chat being like, "Yo, deals, deals, deals. Let's go. I'm ready to go. The whole team's here, ready to go."
Absolutely. Dude, Marichelle,
I
if the Matthews partnered with the Streetmans, my mom would be over the moon. I don't even need anything on it. Just like you guys go do it. I would love to see it happen.
There you go.
I have a follow-up question there with tech on the like just progressing so quickly and
Oh yeah.
AI. What
Mhm.
are some areas, how are you implementing it, but also kind of remaining your just cool, calm, grounded, collected, present self? Like with it can be overwhelming with all the technology out there, not wanting to lose the heart and soul of
hmm
everything, but how are you kind of gearing up for the future with AI and all of its potential that it may come with, whether it be good or bad?
It's funny you asked that because just this week I've been researching like how to use AI to help me at least in this like this modeling aspect, underwriting deals. So it's something that I need to implement. And if I can literally figure out how, not really underwrite deals, but like maybe how to screen deals or do market research for me or figure out data um in the market and all of that, then that I think that's where I can implement it. But I know in Chat GPT, you can upload a model into it and it can do I guess kind of whatever you want it to do. Like if you wanted to figure out a DSCR for you, then you can do that. You can stress test a deal for you. So I think I need to start tinkering around with that, but that's how I think I'm gonna implement AI. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
to more so take the mundane out of things rather than
Yeah.
like uh take away the soul or make everything robotic. Is there any way you would implement technology into your multifamily properties, like smart AI, like AI resources in the properties, like
Hmm.
for for your investors even
Great
to
question.
Maybe
give
for
them
the
real-time
investors.
updates?
Yeah, maybe for the investment part, probably. I haven't really dabbled into that. That's a good, maybe I can start tinkering around with that as well.
I'll just give you a bunch of silly goose questions to start tinkering with. I think we're onto something with this bubble. We are getting
Yeah.
closer to the bubble, Frank, and popping it.
Did
Okay,
anybody
those were
else
like
have any
my
other
final
questions?
ones. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
That was selfish.
Oh, you're good. Those are good questions, Nico.
I have a good maybe potential closing question here. Is just kind of um, what's your deal criteria? What are you guys looking for at diversified equity? Um,
Mm.
like how can we and everyone in this chat and that's going to be listening in the future help you get to where you want to be? And with along in conjunction with your
Yeah,
partners.
Mm. So we're looking for anything that is 1985 to 2016 build. Um, we want to see anywhere as small as 50 units up to I think 200 to 250 units. But we want to see a strong story behind the property and why it's being, sold. Some of the deals that I just looked at this week are distressed. They're getting sold at the loan amount. So equity is getting wiped out. So we want to hear that kind of story. Um, and anywhere in Texas, North Carolina. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in Texas, and that's why we're super bullish on Texas. But anything multifamily in those markets would be a good thing to look at. But I think it's more so the operators we're looking for, because operators will determine, like, we can have the best asset sent to us, but if the operator isn't experienced, then I probably won't look at it. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's invaluable information. Looks
Yeah.
like Willie has a question. He wants to know what your favorite sports team is.
Oh yeah, Willie knows the answer to that one. So I don't watch sports. I find no interest in it. And like that's why, like, whenever Eddie and Willie get on our calls and they're talking about some sports, they'll ask me, "Hey, you see the game?" I was like, "Nope, I don't watch sports. I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. I have other things to think about." And not that it's bad, right? If you watch sports, it's just not my cup of tea.
I feel
Go
seen
have
and
a
heard.
I'd rather go have a coffee with Jackson and hang out with
There you
Jackson.
go.
Oh,
Or go
likewise,
fishing,
dude.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 We had to catch up on the Super Bowl halftime show like 3 days later. We are like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, see, I didn't even know
It
who
already
I
started
didn't
popping
even
up. We are like, oh, we missed that.
To be
Yeah, I
honest, the
didn't even
Super
know who
Bowl happened
performed.
down the street from my house, and I still missed it. But it's okay.
Nice.
Well, that's awesome. Frank, thank you so much for being on with us today. I know we've
Of
drilled you with
course.
questions. We're over on the time that we had allocated with you. So appreciate you, appreciate your time, appreciate everybody that showed up and
Yeah.
participated, asked questions, listened in. We appreciate you all a ton. So yeah, thank you so much for
Mhm.
being here, Frank. Anything
Mhm.
else? Any last words from anybody on the team? Anybody want to pipe in here? Feel free. If not, we'll go ahead and close her down.
No, dude, I think
Just big time mahalo for letting us ask questions and learn from you. I was taking notes on the side. Can't wait to re-listen and pull the other notes that I'd missed out on because I was laughing.
Mm,
Yeah, no, I'm also good as well, bro. Just thank you so much. This was amazing.
of course. Thank you.
All right, you guys. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for tuning in with us.
Bye.
Aloha.